if this is not the information that they're referring to, what information can equate to 33 terabytes of data?
This episode is made possible by OITVOIP. Find your best-in-class revenue generation for MSPs all over the world. Learn more via the link in the show notes.
You're watching MSP Dispatch, your source for news, community events, and commentary in the MSP channel. I'm Ray Orsini, and in today's story, Lockbit 3.0 claims Federal Reserve breach and theft of 33 terabytes of data, in a story written by Marcus Kasepersky for WinBuzzer. A ransomware group, Lockbit 3.0, has claimed responsibility for a cyber attack on the U.S. Federal Reserve, allegedly stealing 33 terabytes of confidential data. The announcement was made on June 23, 2024, via a dark web leak site, with the group threatening to expose the data if their ransom demands are not met. Lockbit 3.0, operated by a different group from the previous Lockbit attacks, is dissatisfied with the current negotiator, claiming the negotiator has undervalued the stolen data at $50,000 and demands a replacement. The stolen data includes sensitive banking details of U.S. citizens, posing serious risks to personal privacy and national security. The Federal Reserve has not confirmed the breach, but is expected to work with federal agencies like the FBI and CISA. Tony, there's a lot here. First and foremost, 50 grand. Okay, you worked in the federal government space. You worked in the federal government security space. You have a little experience with that. What's that? DOD, something to do with dud lights. Yeah. So, $50,000 for a ransomware event, any kind of ransomware event at the Federal Reserve. If they're serious about that being the actual offer, what does that tell you? Because to me, that speaks volumes of that they are willing to pay something at all, but such a small amount.
Well, so I was doing the math here, and at 33 terabytes, that's about $660,000 per terabyte that they're willing to part with if they do the $50,000 ransomware. But that being said, 33 terabytes of what? And so let's process this for a moment, because remember, the Federal Reserve information, they don't really care about your bank account number, your routing number, and whatever, other personal information that you have, because that's not their job. I mean, that's analogous to someone coming to you saying, hey, listen, if you don't pay me $100,000, we're going to give away all of the people that purchase Girl Scout cookies because you once purchased them in some capacity. So you're kind of there. You don't care. I mean, at the end, what you do, but I mean, it's not your responsibility. So my question is, why does the Federal Reserve have this information that is so important? And if this is not the information that they're referring to, what information can equate to 33 terabytes of data? Is this like the new Bitcoin that they've been?
Okay, hold on. I'm gonna dial it back a little bit because I think, and now I'm not an expert. Neither of us are experts in the Federal Reserve, but they're responsible for the financial standing the U.S. has, both in the U.S. and globally, because they are literally keeping track of our funds. I believe all wire transactions go through them as well. I don't know if it's different systems or if that was part of the system breached, but in that case, you would have financial transactions equivalent to, if it were possible, to hack a whatchamacallit, a crypto locker or a crypto chain. Blockchain, thank you. Blockchain transaction ledger, right? It'd be the equivalent, but in U.S. banking, that's important details. Now you have account numbers, routing numbers, you have financial amounts, you have who they were sent to, who they were sent from, the time and date of the transaction, the reference to the transaction. That's a lot of information for targeted attacks after the fact.
And what if it's not just U.S. though? What if it's SWIFT data that goes outside the U.S. and now we have a global collapse that's occurring because of one particular internal hack for the man in the middle occurred for all these other. You and I are.
And this is guesswork. This is absolute guesswork, but it's absolutely run by the Federal Reserve.
But $50,000.
And that's my point. I wonder if at $50,000, I almost wonder if it's a stalling tactic, which I could get. But at $50,000, this is we've given you an offer, but it's something to give us time to do our due diligence and do a final announcement because we have no intention of paying, which I think that's interesting. At least that's how I would approach that. That's how I would take it if I was on the other side. I kind of take my hat off to the Lockbit side that said we're not getting enough feedback, so we're going to go to socials and complain about it on socials.
Hey, can you guys pressure them because they're not responding the way they should
They
respond?
literally pulled a Karen on the U.S. Federal Reserve. That to me is brilliant.
Can
And
you upgrade this? Can you give me your manager because you're
I,
not giving me what I think I deserve?
do you know who I am? And with that, so and with that, I'm going to challenge anybody that's in our MMN Discord. Let us know in the comments of this video, wherever you see it, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, whatever, or internet MMN Discord. How do you think that Karen call went? How do you think that Karen tweet went? I'm so angry. I need to speak to a manager. The Federal Reserve is not giving like what workshop with us. Let us know your best lines. Maybe we'll send some swag to the winner. But for now, Tony, you got some stories about speaking of bad guys. Kaspersky is now a bad guy, and we're not allowed to use their software.
In the next story, Biden bans Kaspersky antivirus software in the U.S. over security concerns, from bleepingcomputer.com. The Biden administration has announced a ban on Kaspersky antivirus software in the United States, citing security concerns and alleging ties between Kaspersky Labs and the Russian government. Effective September 29, 2024, Kaspersky is prohibited from providing antivirus software and cybersecurity products or services to U.S. entities, including software updates and operation of its Kaspersky Security Network, that's KSN. The decision, enforced by the Department of Commerce, follows the concerns that Kaspersky software could be used to exploit sensitive U.S. information. Despite Kaspersky denying working with Russian authorities, the U.S. government asserts that the risk cannot be mitigated without a total ban. Kaspersky intends to challenge this decision, emphasizing its independence and contributions to global cybersecurity. I would love to unpack this with you, Ray. Here's my first question, just to be blunt. Are we squeezing this too tight? Or are there valid concerns? What are your thoughts on this?
So I believe there's absolute valid reasons, valid to somebody in the White House or in government. Whether those reasons are valid to your criteria or mine, I don't know. Because let's be honest, there's always political motives somewhere, without question. There's also probably some article somewhere, some document, some research they did saying Kaspersky bad for X reason because Russia, and that could be some varying degree of serious versus garbage, and because we've seen how the media will take half read stuff and turn it into the biggest news story ever. So assuming it's somewhere in the spectrum there, I'm going to liken it to, we've seen this in the past, right? We have, it's not USDA. Somebody in the CUI's face will remind me what it is in the chat. But that you can only buy hardware from certain countries if you're dealing with, high gov stuff, right? If you're working with the DoD, if you're working with anything CMMC, depending on stuff, you can't use any of the really common Chinese brands for cameras, right? I think Axis you're stuck with, or some of the other ones. But definitely some of the ones we like to use, like cheap TP-Link stuff, not going to happen. Even some really expensive stuff, I forget the H one, not going to happen.
Oh, Hikvision, Amcrest.
Hikvision,
Ironically,
thank you. Yes.
Amcrest is a great American made, but 30% of them, ironically, are Hikvision rebranded OEM, which you're like, what, hold on, and then
Yeah.
sorry.
And we know the headache that came with that, right? And then we had the China monitoring. They were putting stuff in the processor chips for network cards, so they could. So then it was, we can't buy Supermicro, we can't buy this, we can't buy that. We could only, and it makes it a headache. And so anytime one of those regulations comes up, they do the same thing with VoIP. Well, VoIP handsets, find an American-made VoIP handset. Doesn't exist. Poly is HP. It does, but they don't manufacture here. They assemble here. They don't manufacture here. Snome is German, if you want to stay out of China, but Grandstream's a U.S. company based in Boston, and 100% of their staff are Chinese. So it's not, it's, are we creating a rock and a hard place that we can't function properly, right? And I'm not saying one brand is better than the other, but the general brands you use in VoIP, Cisco, Grandstream, Polycom, Snome, whatever, even Cisco's not built here in the U.S. as far as I know. But they are on the list that you can buy from, so take it with a grain of salt. So when stuff like this comes out, I don't know how serious it is or significant it is, but it's stuff we have to work around, which to us, that's what really hits us. how does it, you've been on this side of it. How do you think it would affect you as a vendor or somebody purchasing services? Does it affect you when you're looking in the EDR or cybersecurity space?
Well, at the globalization, from the globalization perspective, I mean, is that really do we want to tug on that thread? I mean, because think about the
Mhm.
dependencies that occur at a global level. And we are now saying, hey, listen, there's a problem over here with Kaspersky in one of our stories that,
Hmm.
hey, it's Russian. Well, how many things are in Russia's a small little, like a village somewhere. No big deal. Now we have
I know,
problems.
sir. They've expanded. I think they're a town.
Oh, their town. They may have upped their game. I am so sorry. And so then we have this ongoing theme of an issue with China-made products. Another they were upgraded to a town not that long ago. Not that big of a deal. That isn't next thing you know. Oh, India, which because
Yep.
they're neighbors
Also
with
tiny,
China.
tiny. Well, yeah, but they're tiny. They're tiny.
So it's very small, very small. And so the question is, since we have no manufacturing left in the United States, and just being blunt about that, and the CHIPS Act was a huge boost for us. For those of you who haven't followed it, please go follow it. Hopefully resulting in literally hundreds of thousands of jobs and hundreds of millions of dollars in different local environments to boost the manufacturing component. But what is the impact going to be? And is it too little too late? I don't have an answer. I'm very opinionated about idealisms, but when push comes to shove, as we're talking about right now at this moment, it doesn't look very good for us. And I don't know the answer.
I think who has an opinion. I think the MSP audience and the vendors and the other people in the tech
They're
space
not
that watch this.
opinionated at all.
No, no.
It's kind of like they're like, oh, we don't know anything. And by that, I mean, everybody is like an expert in all these different areas. I learn more from just the threads, reading through the threads, and I try to stay quiet about it. I'm like, I am not going to tell anyone I did not know
You know
that.
what? It's you and I may be the village idiots, but it's a good village to be in. I'm happy for I'm in the Discord. If you have opinions about this or any of our other stories, hit us in the comments, hit us on the Discord, do all the things. We'll see you next episode.
Be
Take
safe,
care.
everyone.
If you found this episode eye-opening, catch more MSP Dispatch at 10 a.m. throughout the week. Share your thoughts below, and don't forget to like and subscribe.
This has been a broadcast of the MSP Media Network.